She is the founder and executive director of AMOR Healing Kitchen. Maria, where are you? Come on out!
There's so many of you. Good morning. Everybody sit up nice and tall for a moment. And either close your eyes or turn your gaze downward. And take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Take a deep breath in and a full breath out. And one more. Deep breath in and slow breath out. You can open your eyes. Thank you, that was for me. We'll do it again later for you. But that opens up receptivity between us. I do public speak a lot. I speak a lot about AMOR Healing Kitchen, but this talk is definitely different, and there's a lot of you, so I am nervous. So I appreciate you all indulging me in a moment of kind of centering and grounding. It's so funny. So I was a public school teacher for 15 years, and on my 40th birthday, which was 7 years ago, I took the day off and went to Nome Cafe, and went to breakfast. I had a lot of things on my mind related to what I'll speak about, and I wrote a letter to myself. But as I was doing that, I was looking around and I was like, oh my gosh, all these people get to come down here and come to breakfast on a Friday and drink coffee. And for 15 years, I had been on someone else's schedule. At 8 a.m., I am reporting to school in front of 30 to 35 high school students and starting my day like that. And I loved it. I absolutely love it. But I was like, holy moly, these people get to do some really cool things at 8 a.m. on Friday, and here I am doing this with you all. So it's so funny how different, how life can change, and hopefully it is through our own decisions that we can shape our lives. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. I told my husband I was doing this, and he was like, well, what makes you an expert? I was like, I know, you're right. What makes me an expert? And he said, well, the theme is vibrant. And I looked up the definition, just like Wilmot did, a former high school teacher would do. And I really started thinking about it in how, as it relates to life. And I really resonated with the enthusiasm and energy. And so that's what I said to my husband. I was like, well, I started thinking about life, and the definition is with enthusiasm and energy. And he said, oh, well, that is totally you. Yeah. And I was like, I know, that is me. So I feel okay standing up here. I don't claim to be an expert at anything in life. But what I thought I would do is just share with you all what has worked for me. It might not work for you, but what has worked for me, and the whole process of even doing this talk really got me. I have never thought about this before in this way. So it was a really, really interesting process to get here speaking in front of you all, trying to make some sense. And hopefully you all will walk away with at least a little bit of inspiration or something of the sort. So I will always start my journey with my mom. My mom was the most vibrant person I have ever known. I put up here, a guru dispels the darkness, so it's very hard for me to speak about my journey without weaving in yoga, because I was introduced to yoga by my mom in 1998 through a VHS tape. And it has absolutely shaped the path of my life. I'm not referring to the yoga that we go to and make sure that our pants look real nice and This is a very deep dive into the body and the spirit. So I have studied and practiced yoga for, I guess, 25 years now, and it absolutely has shaped my journey. So it comes up a lot. But I wanted, in talking about a vibrant life, I didn't want, those of you that don't know me, to think that I have this kind of Pollyannish view of a vibrant life. It does not come from unicorns and rainbows. I am an optimist, yes. I always look for the good. But I got there through going through very, very dark times. And I'm not going to speak about those today, but just to let you know that I truly believe that that facing the darkness, that sitting in the darkness and walking through the darkness is how we become vibrant. There's no just brushing it to the side. It will come up in your life over and over and over again if we can't work through it. So the person that really taught me that first was my mom. She grew up in Bolivia, grew up in very difficult circumstances, and I only knew her when she was 30 and to 65, and I just knew her as this vibrant energy, this vibrant woman, and it came from the fact that she would go outside and listen to the birds every morning. Every single morning. That's how she started her day. Listening to the birds, cooking, feeding people. Very, very simple, simple things in life. It wasn't anything extravagant, but everyone that met my mom was touched by her. So I learned really everything from her. And she is what continues to fuel the inspiration for my life. I find it so amazing that she was the one that introduced me to yoga, because I feel like that is continuously teaching me lessons, so she's really living through that in my life. And she also taught me to have faith in something bigger. She, as I said, my family's from Bolivia, very, 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 very Catholic. But she broke the mold. And she did not baptize us as kids. She never made us take communion. She didn't do any of that. She took us to all different kinds of churches. Eventually, I learned to surf, and the beach became my church. And she absolutely honored that. And she said, as long as you have faith in something bigger than you, you're going to be just fine. So that is the homage to my mom. She would be very tickled that I'm talking about her here. And then I just wanted to refer to teachers in general. So I would not be here if I didn't seek teachers in my life. Experiences can be teachers. Experiences are usually our hardest teachers and our hardest lessons. But as I said, I was introduced to yoga, and through that I found a very dear teacher to me who has taught me that to look within. And I believe that's what good teachers do, not to put them on a pedestal and revere them. Good teachers teach us to find it within ourselves. So that is my yoga teacher. I was never an athlete growing up. I abused my body through college, out of college. Won't tell you how, but lots of different ways. And I never ever thought I could surf. I never ever thought I could do something like that with my body. That was like 3 years ago. I don't know if I can still do that. But it's the finding that potential in my body and releasing a lot of what I had stored through my childhood, because we store all that in our body. And so I learned so much from him, so much about myself through him. And then I just put these other kind of random, because there's so many teachers in my life. My friends are my teachers. They're here in the audience. I learn from them all the time. But Sandhya, up in the top left, when I was in India, I signed up for a cooking class with her. She's a very famous woman in Mysore, India. And I showed up, and I was for 2 weeks on the floor, chopping vegetables. I just found it like, I learned so much from her about the simplicity of cooking, of smelling the spices and the herbs and the seeds, and that you don't need anything fancy. It's not about that. It's about the energetic exchange between you and what is grown from the earth, and the beauty that can bring to your body, the healing that can bring to your body. So I absolutely loved her. And then I found this photo of, and it just reminded me, so I started practicing, it's called Ashtanga yoga. It's a very traditional method. And I found discipline, which I needed. I'm very like, woo! And I needed discipline in my life. Structure is good for me. And I found that through yoga. But what I realized, I was in Indonesia, and I used to always, I didn't want my husband walking in on me while I was practicing. I didn't want any interruptions. Everything had to be quiet. I became a little bit rigid. And I was practicing in this little village, and this boy would just crawl right up to where I was and just start mimicking what I was doing. And I was like, ugh. And then I was like, what is wrong with me? This kid is amazing. And so that was a whole month. He would just crawl right up, and we'd start, and I probably got 25% done of what I normally do. But I had to let that go. I was like, this is beautiful. So he taught me don't take yourself so seriously. We take ourselves so seriously and think it's all about us, and it's absolutely not. So that's just some examples and shout outs to some people. So I started coming up with this theme about what got me to feel vibrant in life, and it's really tending from the inside out and not the outside in. And I mean that in the way that we are so influenced by the outside world now, what we should look like, what we should do with our lives, what our lives should look like, the trajectory, what we should post, what we should, all of it. We're so influenced by the outside world. And really what I've found is when I come from the inside, even this talk, everybody was, my friends, my acquaintances, my team, they were like, oh, vibrant, oh, that's easy, you'll talk about food. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And then I started sitting and journaling and meditating, and I was like, it doesn't feel right to just talk about food. You can put the most vibrant food into your body, and if you have not tended to the soil, no flowers are going to grow. So it is tending from within that the beauty of life comes out, that we're able to accept that. So that is kind of, yeah, I was like, that is so interesting. I had actually never thought about it. So thank you, Creative Mornings, for inviting me, because that taught me a lesson. So through my 20s and 30s, I started to kind of come alive. I started letting go of the things that I was abusing my body with. And sitting in the darkness and feeling it and realizing that there was a lot of darkness. Okay, now what do I do with that? I probably should have gone to therapy, but I never did. Never went that route. Yoga really became my therapy. Truly, if I really think about how I worked through all of this, it was studying yogic philosophy really, really helped me work through a lot of all the things that I had shoved down. And yes, it was the back bending and the very deep, intense postures and things like that, but it was also learning to sit. So many people say, like, I'm not good at meditating. And I'm like, well, guess what? None of us are. None of us are. But starting my day every morning with sitting, I can tell the state of my being. So obviously this morning, I sat down and my heart was beating fast. And I was like, oh my God, I'm nervous. But some mornings I wake up lethargic. Some mornings I wake up and I feel agitated or frustrated already, first thing in the morning. So what does that tell me? Well, it tells me that later on when my husband walks in the house with mud on his shoes, maybe I don't need to throw a fit. It's not that big of a deal. You know, when you have those days where everything is going wrong, maybe it just started with you, first thing in the morning, that you started your day in an agitated state. So that check-in first thing in the morning tells me everything. And then I work some breathing exercises. And that starts to kind of regulate the emotional state. It starts to put me in a place more of gratitude. I have a gratitude journal. I started it 3 years ago, and oh my God, that works. There's science behind it. Those of you that need science, there's science behind that. So I really started diving in, probably in my late 20s, into the study of yoga. I was a teacher, as I said. I taught high school Spanish for 13 years, and then I switched to English to speakers of other languages for the last 2 years. I'll talk a little bit about that, but that picture was a student of mine early in my career that made me realize that that it does not matter what job we have, but we can make it important. And we can really make the difference in someone else's life. There's a guy, I live on James Island, they're doing a ton of construction work right now. There's a guy every morning out there dancing and waving as you walk by, or as you drive by, and I'm like, man, he is making such a difference in everyone's day that is driving by. That's amazing. And it shows me that he's enjoying his job. So our jobs don't have to be extraordinary on the outside. It's how we feel on the inside about them that makes a difference. And then we circle outward. How can we help uplift the energy around us into those around us? Traveling, I've always traveled. That makes me come alive. Seeing other cultures, immersing myself in other cultures. My husband and I both have a huge passion for that. He's like way more adventurous than me, so he scares me all the time when we're traveling, and it's good for me. Maybe in the moment I'm like, why are we doing this? This was one of the highest passes in the Himalayas, and we were on a motorcycle for a month, and hit a snowstorm up there, and I was like, I'm pretty sure we're gonna die. Oh, we did, and it was amazing. And then another huge part of my journey, tending from the inside out, was, well, it started, the first time I visited Bolivia, I was 9 years old, and my family has a ranch, and we met the cows, petting the cows, and then the next day, the cows were on a tray being passed around for lunch, and it was their offering to us, but I was like, Mom, I can't eat the cow, I just met the cow. It was the first time that I had connected animals with the actual animal with what I was eating. I was 9 years old. Fast forward to college, my roommate was a vegetarian, so I naturally just started eating more or less meat. And then I started noticing a difference in my body. My eczema that I had since I was born, I think, went away. Like really, really bad eczema. And then I gave up dairy eventually, and my asthma went away. So I'm not saying this will work for all of you, but it worked for me. And I started educating myself on factory farming, and it did not feel right. It did not feel right to me to have meat anymore. So I let it go, and it has made such a big difference. My whole family, my family in Bolivia, my mom, I was like, Mom, I'm not eating meat anymore. And she was like, oh, but you eat chicken, right? Like, no! My family in Bolivia, they're like, a vegetarian girl? But yeah. Like, yes. And they're like, but you eat chicken, right? Like, no! So the outside world was telling So, it's interesting because I was having a conversation with a volunteer a few days ago, and I said, hey, oh yeah, you're a vegetarian, right? And she said, no, I went back to eating meat. And I said, oh. And she said, yeah, I just started like listening to this podcast, and she was like, it's all about who you listen to. And I was like, later on, that just kept going on. And I was like, I listen to me. I listen to me. Especially right now. Yes, you can be ping-ponged around the world with this side or that side. But just listen to yourself. Again, I'm not saying it's for everyone, but it's right for me. And I feel good. I pay attention to how I poop. Very important. How I sleep, my mood, and my energy. And all of those inform me as to the state of my health. Am I sleeping well? No? Okay, let me look at what's going on. So the answers are within. We keep seeking the answers on the outside, but the answers are really, they're within. I love this quote. Life shrinks or expands according to one's courage. So I had started feeling restless in my job, which was weird because I loved teaching. But I know from meditation, and I was like, there is something else. So I gave myself a little mantra, and it came back to service. How can I serve? I want to be an instrument of service, continue being. I already felt like I was. And so I told my husband, I was like, I think I'm going to take a year off teaching. He's also a teacher, and he was like, no. Definitely don't have enough money for you to take a year off to explore. So he's like, why don't you do what I do? So I switched. I went from teaching the high school Spanish to teaching English to speakers of other languages. And it worked a little bit. I felt like, okay, change. But there was still some kind of nagging in my mind, some kind of uneasiness. Like there was something else. So I was showing my kids this segment on, I think it was like CNN, and there was an organization in California that brings high school students into a kitchen, teaches them how to cook, and they prepare meals for cancer patients. And I was like, oh my God, that is the coolest thing ever. And I could not get it out of my head. I couldn't get it out of my head. It was there. It was like lodged in my brain. And I kept coming back to it and kept coming, and I was like, is this what I've been looking for? I meditated on it for 6 months. 6 months. I learned about it October, so the beginning of October 20th, I sat at Nome Cafe, bringing it back to that breakfast where I was like, this is what other people do. And I wrote myself a letter. I still have it, and it talked a lot about fear. What am I thinking? What would it look like if I started something like this? I started opening my mind to the possibility. I didn't tell anybody, not my friends, I didn't tell my husband, I didn't tell anybody. Until I had tended fully within, and I had convinced myself 100% that I can do this. 100%. It was unshakable. The last question I asked myself before I decided was, what's the worst that can happen? It's a great question. If you're wondering if you should jump off the ledge for something, ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? And for me, it was, I fail, and my ego is sorely bruised. Right? You fail in front of people. That's what you do. You're going to put yourself out there and you fail. I was like, all right, I think I can live through that. I was like, financially, I can go back to teaching, because guess what? They always need teachers. And I loved my job. So once I decided that, I was like, I'm good. I'm doing it. And I told my husband, and he was like, okay, you're quitting teaching to start a nonprofit. He's like, so we're going to move lower on the tax bracket. He was like, how about you keep teaching and start the nonprofit? I was like, nope, it's not going to work. It's not going to work like that. I will not have enough energy to do that. So I knew, and it wasn't just him. I had other people, once I told them the model, they were like, no, 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 you should at least serve some meat. It's like, no, not going to do it. Not going to do it. So I just knew that I had to have it. So instead of seeking the outside to tell me what I should be doing or what it should look like, I had to find that within myself and give it a try. I might fail, and it's okay. So, oh, no. Yeah, wait, I have note cards, I haven't used them. So that was 7 years ago. Last year, we served 19,000 meals. Not just me, it is a whole village with me on that. To people facing serious health challenges, plant-based, 100% plant-based food and sourced locally. That was something else I had become so passionate about. It's like, no, it'd be more cost-effective if you get it wholesale from Costco or whatever. And I was like, no, because that's not what I eat. And I believe everyone has access to how I eat. Everyone should have access to this food. If I'm trying to heal myself, I am not going to go to Costco and buy food that's been shipped from Argentina. I think maybe I am some, okay. It's very hard not to. But I source locally. I believe in our farmers. I believe in food being pulled out of the ground, and the next week I get to have that produce. It is at the top level of nutrients that vegetable or fruit can produce. That's what I want in my body to heal. I believe in our farmers who tend to the land. We have to honor them. We have to support them, because otherwise we're all going to be stuck with the same monoculture that we find in the grocery stores. And we here are so fortunate to live where we do, because we can absolutely eat locally all year long. It's amazing. So I fully support that and encourage everyone as well. So, here. Has all this made sense? Yeah. Good. Okay, so now the high school teacher in me is coming out. So I want you to take a moment. We put beautiful color index cards on your chairs. And take a moment and sit up nice and tall. And either close your eyes or turn your gaze downward. And take a deep breath in and a full breath out. Take another deep breath in and slow breath out. And one more deep breath in and full breath out. And open your eyes and take a moment to write what makes you come alive. You can write the question if you like. It can be a single word, it can be a list, it can be sentences. No one else is going to read this, so that's always helpful to know. What makes you come alive? No one else is going to read it. And I encourage you to go home, or wherever you're going, or later on today, or maybe tomorrow morning, and continue to write that. What makes you come alive? I love this quote. Someone introduced me to this kind of as I was going through my journey of like figuring things out. But don't ask what the world needs. This embodies fully this idea of tending from within outward instead of outward in. So don't ask what the world needs. Don't come from the outside. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do that. Because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. We don't need any more carbon copies of what we see on Instagram. That's not what we need. We need your unique expression of service. Your unique expression of creativity. That's what the world needs. It doesn't look like my journey. I want to be inspired by your journey. I am inspired by your journey. And I would be remiss if I didn't use this opportunity. Because running a nonprofit is basically running a business with no marketing budget. So I encourage you all, if you're interested in what we're doing, go to our website. You can volunteer with us. You can bring corporate groups or groups in to volunteer with us. You can always donate. And now we have a new program, a grab and grow program. So you grab food from us and you help us grow. It supports our mission. We served 19,000 meals last year. Like I said, 80% of those were free of cost. So these are people that are not only facing a cancer diagnosis, like my mom. I was with her during her journey, and I took her food. And she had all the support in the world. 80% of the people that we serve don't have that support. So not only are they facing a very, very challenging time in their life, but they're also facing financial hardship. So when you support us, it helps us bring nourishing, locally sourced organic meals to those people as well. And we have a discount code. So if you go to our website, you order food from us, the new menu dropped this morning. Perfect timing. And then you pick up from our kitchen on Wednesdays or Thursdays. So we're located in Avondale and West Ashley. But the discount code is Vibrant. I have some flyers. If you're interested, just come see me and grab a flyer. Just go to our website. I didn't print off enough in it. There's a lot of you here.